Hello, everyone, and welcome into CrushTheStreet.com. Today, we have a mining industry expert on the line, and he has 40 years experience in the industry working with Exxon Minerals Company, Kennecott Copper Corporation, Nord Pacific Limited, and Santa Fe Gold Corporation. His name is Dr. Pierce Carson, and he's now the CEO of Magellan Gold Corp, trading under ticker symbol MAGE. And the company is primarily focused on a silver mine in southern Arizona with an additional target in California as well. But as of today, their most recent press release, they have their sights set on Peru as well. And we are going to get into that here with Pierce today. Pierce, thanks for joining me.
Kenneth, it's a pleasure to be on your show and have the opportunity to talk about Magellan Gold Corporation.
Pierce, before we do, I want to talk about precious metals and the economy. And, you know, there's a big debate over whether or not central banks will resort to more money printing, helicopter money, due to the current corner they have backed themselves into. So I want to ask you, do you see more money printing coming from the Fed and central banks here?
The Fed has been printing money for years. But has about run out of tricks in their attempts to keep the economy afloat. However, we can assume they will continue the policy of printing ever-increasing amounts of money. The lowering of interest rates hasn't worked. Rates can't go any lower without going into negative territory. The U.S. is trillions in debt, and the economy looks like it's headed back into recession. The concept of helicopter money to save the day, as I understand it, is that the Fed or the central banks would print a large amount of money and distribute it directly to the population for free, rather than tying it to debt repayment. In other words, simply give away free money. Proponents believe the additional money would promote spending, create jobs, and jumpstart the economy. In my view, giving away free money might in fact provide a short-term stimulus, but in the longer term is unlikely to be successful. It certainly would lead to higher inflation. I believe eventually our economic problems would resurface even more strongly. So a free money policy would amount to nothing more than continuing to kick the can further down the road, in my opinion.
Yeah, Pierce, I mean, we got to assume this is going to have an impact on precious metals, and we've seen that with gold, we've seen that with silver, and even especially with silver over the last few days, you know, trading as high as, 21, over 21 for a short period of time over the last couple days here. And, I got to ask you, as a mining executive devoting your life to resources, let's get your thoughts on the metals here in 2016.
I learned a long time ago that in general metals are cyclic in demand and pricing, depending on the world economies. Most metals have been depressed for the last few years. I believe that will continue for some time to come, considering the world economic outlook. There are always exceptions, of course, for specialty products and markets. One of the traditional base metals we've been looking at is zinc, which appears to have a brighter picture as compared to the other base metals. Gold and silver, of course, are not just commodities. They have monetary and investment components. The outlook for them is very positive indeed. As you know, gold had a major 10-year bull run from 2002 to 2011, 2012, it increased from less than $300 an ounce to a high of about $1,900. And then after that, it had a major decline over the next 3 to 4 years through the end of 2015. And finally, in 2016, the markets appear to be consolidating and are well above their lows in January. Silver is up 40% in 2016. Those of us in the junior mining sector are optimistic that 2016 could be the turnaround year and the start of another bull market. Certainly the sentiment in the industry has changed dramatically to the positive side. I'm particularly optimistic on the future of silver for a number of reasons. We have seen that silver prices can be very volatile, and for example, over the 3-year period from 2008 to 2011, we saw a 5 times increase from $10 an ounce to nearly $50. Silver is subject to increasing demand, both industrial and monetary, And today there is record demand for silver, higher than it was in 2011 when the price was $50. Silver also follows gold in price, and the historical gold-silver price ratio currently points to silver being undervalued. For all of these reasons, I think we could see much higher silver prices over the next few years.
Pierce, I couldn't agree with you more, and it's really good insight there. It's interesting. 70% of silver production comes as a byproduct from other types of mining. And the reality is the majority of these base metals, such as copper, lead, and zinc, have been struggling with their prices. And I want to ask you, what does this mean for silver long term? And is the story greater here for silver than gold?
Well, I think it could be greater than, I think the silver price could be greater than gold. I think what you're bringing up is another reason. I'm particularly optimistic about the future of silver. Cutbacks in base metal mining has resulted in a reduction of byproduct silver production, which you point out is a large percentage of the total silver production. Also, with respect to gold production, there's only about 11 times as much silver being produced than gold. These are additional reasons to think there could be a major revaluation of the silver price.
Pierce, I want to get your thoughts on the current junior mining sector environment. And we've just gone through what might go down in history as the worst bear market for the miners in my personal lifetime. And I want you to explain what the opportunity looks like for both companies and investors here in 2016 following this brutal bear market.
The junior mining sector has gone through a very depressed period, as you point out, over the last few years, but is now experiencing a revival. We can expect demand for good properties to increase and for properties to become more expensive and difficult to acquire. In 2016, Magellan has been attempting to take advantage of a quickly disappearing window to acquire advanced stage assets on which we can build a mid-tier mining company. If our projections of higher silver prices are correct, Magellan will be able to offer significant leverage to investors. Just this morning, we announced a deal on a silver-gold exploration project in Peru. We also have other targets in our sights and expect to be able to announce an additional acquisition within the next few weeks. For investors, it's a great time to consider acquiring stock in the junior precious metal sector. Quality junior stocks are appreciating much faster than the prices of the underlying metals themselves. In the case of Magellan, for example, in the last couple of months, our stock has risen significantly, although our market capitalization is still very low, and we believe the stock still has plenty of upside.
Well, Pierce, let's talk about, what's going on here with the Silver District over in Arizona. Tell us about this area and tell us about the timeline that investors can look forward to, regarding production and regarding what's going on in Arizona for Magellan Gold Corp.
Okay, I'll talk about the Silver District, and maybe we can talk about this new acquisition that we announced as well. At the Silver District, as you mentioned, this is in southwestern Arizona. Extensive drilling was conducted beginning in the late 1970s through the early 1990s. The drilling was conducted along 3 strong epithermal vein structures that have a collective strike length of 8 miles. The drilling was aimed at near-surface mineralization and extended to a depth of only about 130 feet. A total of 465 holes and 63,000 feet of drilling were completed. That work identified a historic resource of 16 million ounces of silver available for open pit mining. However, we also believe there is excellent exploration potential to expand the silver resource by deeper drilling of untested targets beneath the known deposits and also by drilling along strike extensions. Our initial target potential is 60 million ounces of silver, or the equivalent of about 1 million ounces of gold. I would also like to mention the Silver District deposits contain significant quantities of fluorspar, barite, and lead zinc. These potential byproducts could enhance economics of the silver mining operation. So with respect to our plans for taking the silver district forward, we intend to conduct drilling to increase the 16 million ounce historic resource, intend to update previous metallurgical and engineering studies, and intend to carry out additional feasibility and permitting work.
Pierce, yeah, and then going back to Peru as well, and let's talk about this new acquisition. It's so timely, especially with where we are now in precious metals, the resource. We're just coming off the bottom, so I gotta assume that this is still ripe opportunities for both companies looking to acquire and investors alike. So, please share your thoughts with the news regarding Peru.
Yes, well, just this morning we announced signing a letter of intent with a Canadian junior by the name of Rio Silver Incorporated, which gives Magellan the right to acquire a 50% interest in the Nino Bamba silver gold concession in Peru. To acquire our interest, we will be required to spend $2 million in exploration over 3 years. The letter of intent calls for completing due diligence within 45 days and then concluding a definitive agreement. The mineralization at Nino Bamba demonstrates the exploration potential for a large, bulk tonnage, disseminated silver gold deposit. The property is located in a historic silver district with well-developed infrastructure, and Peru is a mining-friendly jurisdiction. Nino Bamba was originally explored by Anglo Gold in 2001. Anglo drilled 5 widely spaced core holes totaling 860 meters. One of Anglo's holes included assay results of 87 grams per ton silver over 130 meters, starting from a depth of 9 meters. Another hole intersected 54 grams of silver over a drilled interval of 96 meters from a depth of 23 meters. These are long, significant intercepts. At the time this drilling was done, silver was less than $4.50 an ounce, and gold was less than $300. The early drilling identified 2 open-ended parallel zones of silver mineralization 400 meters apart. And in 2012, Rio Silver excavated and sampled trenches and also obtained long intervals of significant silver and also gold values. Rio Silver's trenching discovered a new gold-silver zone, which demonstrated the property contains a strong gold component. Further exploration will be required to determine the geometry and extent of the precious metal zones. We're excited by the Nino Bamba opportunity and believe it has the potential for a major discovery. This acquisition represents an excellent opportunity for Magellan to add a quality precious metals asset.
Mm. Pierce, I got to ask you, is Magellan's goals to continue to do this, to be taken over by another company, or to continue to acquire assets and other projects for yourselves down the line?
Well, the past few years have been difficult for junior explorers and major producers alike, and very little money has gone into exploration or new discoveries. So as the markets come back, we can certainly expect to see a lot of activity in mergers and acquisitions. From Magellan's perspective, we have formulated a business plan to add quality precious metals assets. We are convinced that if we properly execute our plan, we will have a high chance of success. That is the track we are on. Mm-hmm. At the same time, we are flexible and always could be open to any strategic combination that would help the company more quickly achieve greater market recognition. The ultimate test of any strategic combination, of course, is whether it would create value for our stockholders.
Pierce, I want to ask you, what does the future look like for investors today, if they were to invest in Magellan Gold Corp?
Magellan has been very much under the radar. I just came on board as CEO this month, and we are, well, actually it was last month, June, and we are beginning to execute our strategy for rapid growth. In addition, we will be making an attempt to get our story out. Our stock price has increased nicely in the last 3 months, but with a market cap of only about $12 million, the stock has a long way to run. So I see every reason Magellan has a bright future as we continue to execute our strategy of adding precious metals assets. As far as what sets Magellan apart and makes the company a compelling investment, the key ingredients are experienced management, quality assets, and a superior business plan for dynamic growth. These are the fundamentals that will create stockholder value. And I would also like to mention another aspect that makes our business plan somewhat unique and different from most junior exploration companies, and that is we will be placing a high priority on achieving production. During my career, I have been involved in taking several projects from exploration through development and into production.
Pierce, I always enjoy speaking with entrepreneurs and, especially people in the mining industry. And, as an entrepreneur who understands the global mess that we are in, kind of in your closing thoughts here, what words of advice would you have for me and, our listeners today?
In these uncertain times, I think you would be wise to insure yourself and your family by allocating a portion of your investment to gold and silver. Buy the physical metal, but also in times of major market breakout, such as we are seeing today, buy a diversified portfolio of precious metal stocks in major and junior companies. You are likely to achieve attractive rates of return.
Yeah, and then for those who've been involved with the markets this year, you know what that looks like. You have a taste of what the bull market will be like, and if you consider that we're just coming off the lows that we've seen in precious metals, there's a lot more upside to come. So Pierce Carson, everyone, of Magellan Gold Corp, his company trading under ticker symbol MAGE. Pierce Carson, thanks for coming on the show with me today.
Thank you, Kenneth. I appreciate it very much.